When my eldest daughter, Jewel, turned 12 and her entrance exams for junior high were approaching, my husband Howard suddenly demanded a divorce. My parents' educational policies have led me to this decision. Jewel is a genius, undoubtedly smarter than her peers. We'll raise her. She needs to earn a lot and take care of us in the future. She's our golden goose. Yes, you should leave with our second daughter, Diana. Besides, Howard has a girlfriend, Alyssa, who is an exceptional returnee working at the same company. You're no longer needed. Suddenly being asked for a divorce and then learning about his affair left me stunned. What do you mean? Explain properly. Then, without me realizing, Diana was standing there, expressionless, listening. I see. To you, I'm worthless because I'm just ordinary. Howard, caught off guard, looked disturbed. Mom, I'll be fine. Let's leave quickly so we don't interfere with Jewel. I took Diana and left, making a call to someone. Years later, when we met again, our positions had reversed, and Howard was in a pitiful state. My name is Sabrina. Before getting married, I worked at a company, but now I'm a housewife with 2 daughters. I dreamed of a love marriage and hoped to marry my then-boyfriend someday, but my parents were strongly opposed. They forced me to break up with my boyfriend, who was just an ordinary office worker. Later, at my parents' strong urging, I was introduced to Howard, an elite working at a foreign company, and our marriage was quickly arranged. Howard attended prestigious private schools from elementary to university and was a true elite. He was also quite good-looking and never had trouble with women. Inside, I was filled with resentment towards my parents who ignored my feelings and made decisions for me. However, it was clear that arguing would ultimately force me to follow their wishes. So I reluctantly started my life with Howard. I enjoyed my job at the publishing company and planned to continue working, but my parents and Howard didn't allow it, so I had no choice but to resign. A year after our marriage, Jewel was born, followed by Diana the next year. Howard was very busy with work, so I didn't expect him to participate in childcare, but he surprised me by taking time off and cutting work short to be involved with the kids. Since my company is foreign, there are many foreigners. They all value their families, and I want to be like that too. I was moved, thinking that elites take care of their families too, and for the first time, I was grateful to my parents and Howard and satisfied with this life. Several years passed, and when Jewel was about to enter preschool, Howard approached me with a suggestion. I want to talk about Jewel. She's about to start preschool, right? Early education is common these days, so I thought about enrolling her in a school for young children. A preschool? I'm not very familiar with it, but it's a place where small children are taught, right? I vaguely remembered my mother-in-law Kelly and father-in-law Stephen talking about it when Jewel was just born. They proudly told me that thanks to the school, they got into a famous private school and even ordered pamphlets for me, but I had forgotten due to being busy with my first-time childcare. That's right. Besides, my parents are eager to fund her education as much as necessary. What do you think? If Jewel enjoys it, then I agree. But I'm not as knowledgeable as you, so please come along for the visits. Got it. I'll adjust my schedule so we can go as soon as possible. True to his word, the following week, we took Jewel to visit a preschool. She was able to interact with kids her age and seemed to enjoy it so much that we enrolled her that day. She started attending a few times a week. As expected of Howard's child, Jewel had a natural aptitude and quickly mastered basic first-grade math and understood Spanish, showing clear developmental advantages over her peers. Jewel, pleased with the praise, began studying eagerly at home. Seeing this, Howard, Kelly, and Stephen became even more enthusiastic about her education, suggesting she try other extracurricular activities in addition to preschool. On the other hand, though we tried enrolling Diana in the same preschool, she showed no interest in studying, preferring to draw and play with dolls. She ended up quitting within a month. Naturally, Howard's parents didn't let this go unnoticed and constantly compared Jewel and Diana, favoring the more accomplished Jewel. Diana, aware of her situation even at a young age, began to avoid Kelly and Steven, and their relationship deteriorated as she grew older. When Jewel turned 12 and her junior high entrance exams were imminent, Howard suddenly demanded a divorce.
A divorce out of the blue? What do you mean? Explain properly.
My parents' educational policies led us to this decision. You know how it goes, children's academic abilities depend on their parents. Even if Jewel could get into the most prestigious school, if you and Diana are around, she'll end up failing if she stays in this environment.
This environment? I make sure she eats balanced meals and drive her to and from cram school every night. What exactly is bad for Jewel?
I couldn't think of anything. I had always prioritized my children's well-being in my parenting. Suddenly, Kelly and Steven appeared behind Howard. Enough. Sabrina, you will take care of the ordinary Diana, and we'll take the genius Jewel.
Yes, take Diana and leave. Besides, Howard has a brilliant girlfriend named Alyssa, a returnee working at the same company. You're no longer needed. Howard and Alyssa will raise Jewel.
I was shocked to hear about Howard's affair so suddenly.
Wait, a girlfriend and a divorce. You can't just drop this all at once.
That's the situation. I'm divorcing you and marrying Alyssa. She knows about Jewel and agreed to raise her together. In other words, they wanted to say they'd educate the brilliant Jewel and leave the ordinary Diana to me. You love Diana more than Jewel, don't you? Jewel needs an environment where she can focus entirely on her studies. My parents are worried she'll fall behind because of you. To them, a child who excels academically is the only real child.
Are you seriously saying this? I love both of them equally. Is Jewel the only one who matters to you because she meets your expectations? Both of them are our precious daughters.
Jewel is undoubtedly a genius, far smarter than her peers. I just want to ensure her future isn't ruined. That's why I think it's best for me to take her and raise her with my parents' support. She needs to earn a lot and take care of me in the future. She's our golden goose.
Are you saying I should leave with Diana so as not to hinder Jewel?
Hearing my words, Howard nodded quietly. Diana, who had been listening without expression, was standing there. I see. To you, I'm worthless because I'm just ordinary, right? Diana. I'm not saying that exactly, but you're not entirely wrong either. Howard's cruel words toward his own daughter confirmed the harsh reality for Diana, who sighed deeply. Mom, I'll be fine. Let's leave so we don't get in Jewel's way. Diana. I regretted making my daughter say such things and silently apologized to her repeatedly. At the same time, I realized staying here for even a second longer was not good for Diana. I quickly completed the procedures and left the house holding Diana's hand. Diana, don't worry. No matter what, Mom is always on your side. Diana smiled, nodded, and squeezed my hand tightly. That night, I called a friend. Hello, it's Sabrina. Yes, I've decided to take on that matter. Time passed, and it was now winter, 8 years later. It was colder than usual this year, and the forecast predicted snow next week. I got out of my car, thinking about the weather. It was especially cold today, and my hands felt like they were freezing. I hurried from the parking lot to my apartment building to escape the cold. As I entered the lobby on the first floor and took out my keys, I noticed a homeless-looking man who didn't seem to belong there. I initially thought he was a homeless person seeking refuge from the cold, but when he saw me, he called my name. Sabrina. Which startled me. I didn't know such a homeless-looking man. I tried to ignore him and walk away, but his voice calling my name again made me realize who he was, and I slowly turned to confirm. That voice, could it be Howard? I'm glad you remember me. It's amazing. You live in such a secure high-rise apartment. I couldn't get inside and had to wait here for you. Behind Howard, who awkwardly laughed, stood a tall, muscular security guard glaring at him, determined not to let any suspicious person escape. Yes, I do. So, what brings you here after finding my address? It's a long story, but please, let me inside. I've been waiting for hours in this cold, and I can barely feel my hands and feet. Without explaining his purpose, Howard started to plead, saying he was at his limit. Come on in then. I reluctantly let Howard into my apartment. Thank you so much. If you hadn't come home, I don't know what would have happened. What would have happened? You would have just gone back home, right? Stop exaggerating. So, what's your business? Keep it brief. I have work early in the morning, and Diana will be back soon, so I want this to be over before then. I didn't want to spend even a second more with Howard in my home. Nor did I want him to meet Diana. Despite my cold words, Howard smiled, happy to be let in. He finally sat down and began to speak. The company I was working for, well, I got fired, Howard said. What? The big company you were working at even before we divorced? So, he's jobless now and in such a state. I came to my own conclusion. Things were going well until a few years ago. But then my boss's demands kept getting tougher. I just couldn't handle it anymore. I see. I failed at this really important deal this quarter, which cost the company a lot, so they fired me. Hearing why he was fired didn't surprise me much, and I responded nonchalantly. Despite his excuses, the bottom line was his lack of ability. Although it was a bit surprising that someone praised as an elite would get fired, it didn't matter to me anymore. What kind of work are you doing now, Sabrina? Living in such a nice high-rise, you must be making quite a lot. Howard asked, trying to gauge my situation. Well, I'm working at a company run by a friend. I never had trouble with my salary, so I could raise Diana without any issues. I'm truly grateful to my friend. Right after the divorce, I started working at that company. In fact, my friend had highly valued my abilities and had been trying to recruit me even before the divorce. However, forced to be a housewife, I had to keep turning down the offer. When I contacted her after the divorce, she was incredibly happy and immediately took me on, allowing me to start working without the hassle of job hunting. Though it took some time to get back into the groove due to a long break, I quickly regained my stride and succeeded in producing good results. Several years later, my friend decided to retire to take care of her aging parents, and she strongly recommended that I take over as the new president. At that time, it was still a small company, but apparently, I had a knack for management and managed to grow the company until it eventually went public. You're president now, we're worlds apart. Howard murmured. And what about you, Howard? Are you working at all? Well, sort of. I have to live, so I've been working at cleaning and construction companies. But you know, after working for a big company for so long, I just didn't fit in with the others. I often clashed with people over how to do things and ended up changing jobs many times. Listening to him, I could easily imagine the situation. Howard had always been excessively proud, probably belittling others and causing trouble with human relations, leading to his dismissals. Suddenly, Howard, who had been sitting, stood up and started pleading again. Sabrina, please. Hire me at your company. I'll start with any task, even the most menial. With my background, I think your company would take me in, please? Ha! I had anticipated this since I mentioned I was the president. But my answer was already decided. Sorry, but it's not possible. We have enough staff. Besides, you have your brilliant daughter, Jewel. She's an adult now, why don't you rely on her? And what about Alyssa, the girlfriend from your company? You married her, didn't you? As soon as he heard the names Jewel and Alyssa, Howard suddenly shouted angrily. Don't you dare mention their names! Startled by his sudden outburst, I realized I had clearly struck a nerve. Howard's face turned red as he continued to grumble. He started speaking, still looking disgruntled. We divorced before we knew the results of Jewel's junior high entrance exam, but she passed the super difficult school.
That's great. Jewel's always been amazing.
Howard shouted again.
What's so great about that? Things were fine until she went from junior high to high school. But then she started skipping school. Instead of studying, she stopped coming home and started hanging out with bad friends. It wasn't unusual to get calls from the police.
I see. My guess was that she probably got fed up with a life centered solely on studying. Jewel thrived on praise. Before the divorce, I would always commend her when she brought home good test scores, which I believe kept her motivated. However, it was clear that no one praised her after the divorce. Instead, when she came home from school, she faced constant pressure from Dad, Grandma, and Grandpa to study and become an elite. I'm surprised she managed to persevere through high school.
And what about Alyssa? She only liked me because I was an elite.
As soon as I got fired, she ditched me instead of helping. She even abandoned Jewel, saying she wasn't her own child. Well, she wasn't the type to stick around for an unprofitable man. Jewel hasn't come home in years, and I can't reach her. I have no idea what she's doing. My parents both passed away from illness a while back. I can't rely on Jewel or my parents anymore. Sabrina, you're the only one I can turn to. Please, hire me. I see. I'm sure Jewel is living her life well. While I felt sorry for Jewel, it was Howard who had insisted on taking care of her and pushing us away. In reality, I knew where Jewel was. No matter how much Howard begged, my answer wouldn't change. As I was contemplating how to get Howard out of the house, having let him in carelessly, the living room door opened and Diana walked in. What are you doing here? Do you remember what you said to us? That we were worthless because we were ordinary? Just you being here makes me sick. Leave now. Mom's having a hard time. Diana said coldly, looking down at Howard.
Oh, welcome back, Diana. You must be tired from work. Sorry, this guest will leave soon.
Diana. Is that you? I can't believe how beautiful you've become. You've grown so much. Howard looked up to confirm it was Diana. It was understandable if he didn't recognize her at first. The last time he saw her, she was still in elementary school. Since then, she had grown significantly taller and had even surpassed my height. In reality, Diana is currently making the most of her good looks, attending university while also thriving as a popular model and advertising ambassador for various companies. Lately, she appears frequently in commercials, and there's hardly a day when she isn't seen on TV. Naturally, I've also employed her in my company, where she has significantly contributed to our success. Howard seemed quite astonished when he realized this. I had no idea that the model I see on TV was Diana. Hey, Diana, could you please ask your mom to help me out? I really need to work at her company. Howard pleaded again. Weren't you listening? I'll never forget what you said when Mom divorced you. You said that a loving mother like her was a nuisance to you. Now, I return those words to you. A failure who got fired from his job is worthless to us. But there are many more capable and respectable employees at Mom's company than you. We don't need you there. So, just leave. And never come near Mom and me again. Diana shouted at Howard with a commanding presence, undoubtedly honed from her experience in the entertainment industry. As I admired her poise, the living room door opened again, and someone else walked in. Dad, this is embarrassing. Everyone is uncomfortable, so please go home.
Jewel! Why is Jewel here?
Seeing Howard's surprise, I decided to reveal the secret I had kept. Actually, I've been in contact with Jewel via smartphone since our divorce. During her troubled times, I couldn't reach her and was worried. But after leaving your house, she turned to me. We've been living together for years now. She works at my company and is Diana's manager. Is that true? Jewel was only rebelling against you. After she came to live with me, she quickly straightened out and has become a wonderful young woman. She's very smart and a valuable asset to our company. She's brought in a lot of business, and I'm truly grateful to her. Howard's face turned pale. I hated living with you, Grandma, Grandpa, and your mistress. It was all about studying without a shred of love. I'm so glad I left. We're happy now. So, get out. I felt immense joy knowing that Jewel and Diana were standing up for me. However, Howard wasn't listening to them and instead showed an attitude of trying to persuade them. No matter what insults you throw at me, I won't give up. Please hire me. Let's all live together again. Then everyone will be happy, right? I won't leave until you say yes. As he started spouting more troublesome demands, Diana immediately called the apartment's security office. Hello, security? An intruder has forced his way into our apartment. Please come quickly. What are you doing? Damn it! Give me that! Howard tried to grab the phone from Diana, but she had already made the call. Howard, just like Diana and Jewel said, we don't need you anymore. Please leave quietly. My words only seemed to make things worse. Why don't you understand when I'm asking so nicely? I have no place to go, no money. Howard screamed in desperation, and just then, the security guards arrived. Despite Howard's fierce resistance, he stood no chance against the much larger security guards and was quickly escorted out of the high-rise apartment. Afterward, Howard continued doing manual labor. However, none of the jobs lasted long, and he ended up accumulating more debt, now living a life constantly chased by creditors. Once, I saw Howard even more disheveled, sleeping in a park. I pretended not to notice him and walked away without saying a word. After the incident where Howard attacked us, Diana had been furious with me, saying, "Letting a homeless ex-husband into the house is far too reckless. If I approached him again, it would cause more trouble for Jewel and Diana." In my heart, I muttered, "This is your responsibility," and left the park. I was so shocked when Dad attacked us that time. He never expected Jewel to be there. Remembering his surprised face still makes me laugh. You're both at an age where you could easily attract the wrong kind of guy. So be careful, okay? Now, where should we go for our next trip? Recently, we've developed a hobby of traveling abroad. Although we've been incredibly busy, we've finally started finding some free time, so Jewel, Diana, and I have been going on trips together. This year, we're planning to spend the long New Year holidays in Hawaii. We've faced many difficulties, but we will continue to support each other and live our lives together. Looking forward to planning our next trip after finishing my work, I put my energy into today's tasks. Tom, the car I left with you is surrounded by iron bars. I got a call from my brother Tom, who said he was back from his overseas assignment after a year to pick up his car. Apparently, he had left his car parked in the parking lot of the hotel I run. What? I don't see any such car at my hotel. Where did you park it? In the parking lot. Under the oak tree. What? The old hotel? I sold it and relocated 10 years ago. What? I heard that hotel was sold to some gangsters. You! Unauthorized parking! I hear a terrifying voice over the phone. No, Tom's voice trembles with fear. I imagine him surrounded by gangsters. This is the retribution for treating me like a slave since I was little. I don't care what happens to him. My name is Maria. I'm a 42-year-old working housewife. My family has been running this hotel since my father's grandmother's generation. Needless to say, it's quite popular, and we're sometimes fully booked during the busy season. However, the recent social situation has hit us with a recession as well. We've finally started to bounce back recently, and my parents and I have talked about how glad we are that we persevered. By the way, my husband Mike and I are planning to take over this hotel in the future. That's why both Mike and I are strictly educated by our parents every day. The work is very hard, but the words from our guests, like, "This is a really nice hotel," or, "Thank you, I'll come again," give me the encouragement to keep going. Now I work as the hotel's successor, but I used to be a child running around like Tom's slave. My brother Tom, who is 3 years older than me, is quite a strong-willed person. He can't stand not being number one and thinks that all of our parents' love should be focused on him. But naturally, our parents loved us equally without any sibling discrimination. Tom didn't like that. Of course, when you do something wrong, you get scolded, but Tom would push his mistakes onto me. And he would deliberately do bad things. For example, he would sneak into a guest room that we were told not to enter, eat snacks in a beautifully cleaned room, or bring in toys and scatter them around. He would even destroy the room's amenities. He even broke the window glass of a room that was famous for its magnificent view of the courtyard. Tom was constantly doing things, from malicious to petty mischief. And he would blame it all on me, saying, "Maria did it." At first, even my parents believed Tom's words and scolded me, but if that kept happening, they would surely think it was strange. The decisive factor was when Tom came in while I was helping my mother clean and said, "Maria broke the room amenities again." There's no way I could have done that when I was with my mother the whole time. At that point, his misdeeds were fully exposed, and he was severely scolded by our parents. From then on, Tom became even more stubborn and completely treated me as the bad guy. He would make false accusations like, "It's your fault I got scolded," and say, "If you feel bad about it, do as I say." Among older siblings, there are some who act overly bossy towards their younger siblings. And younger siblings are weak against such older siblings. Yes, I too was at the mercy of my older brother Tom. As a child, he seemed like an absolute existence to me. If he said, "Give me your snacks, Maria," I would think I had to hand them over. If he said, "Massage my shoulders," I would massage them. If he said, "Clean my room," I would clean it. When our parents were busy during the peak season, I was often left alone with him. The money our parents gave us, saying, "Buy your dinner with this," would naturally be used entirely by him. "What's yours is all mine." When you actually hear those words, you realize how cruel they are. When I was in the upper grades of elementary school, I finally realized that he was being ridiculous and started to rebel more. If he didn't like that, when I got good grades on a test, he would say, "You must have cheated," and tear up the test. If I prepared for school the day before, the next morning I would sometimes find my textbooks and notebooks scattered around or thrown in the trash. I wanted to talk to my parents about it, but I couldn't bring it up to them when they were so busy. As we grew up, Tom's bullying also grew more sophisticated, and he would do it in ways that our parents wouldn't notice. Thinking he wouldn't get caught, he kept escalating. He even started stealing my things more often. If I got a new toy, it would quickly disappear, and I would often find it in his room later. Even if I accused him, he wouldn't admit he did it, saying, "You must have left it there herself." By middle school, I had become more cautious, but one day my wallet was stolen when he entered my room without permission. My piggy bank also disappeared. Furious and at my limit, I stormed into his room screaming. And we got into a huge fight, grappling with each other. Our parents were flustered, wondering what was going on, and Tom kept insisting he did nothing wrong. So I begged my parents to put a lock on my bedroom door. He complained, but he couldn't explain to our parents why he was complaining. Thanks to the lock, I finally had some peace. Then when Tom graduated from college and moved out, and complete peace finally arrived. By that time, I had already graduated from high school and was helping my parents. I hadn't really thought about taking over the hotel yet, but Tom had said,
"I'm not going to inherit this old hotel."
So I kind of figured that's how it would turn out. My parents said it was okay if I didn't want to take over if I had something else I wanted to do, but I found the hotel work more enjoyable than I had expected. I guess it suits me. As for Tom, he got a job in the trading industry and lives far away. He got married in his mid-20s, but I rarely see his wife Emma either. However, they come to visit about once a year, and when they do, they stay at the hotel, not at their parents' house. I don't mind that in itself, and if my parents say it's okay, I don't care if they stay for free. But the problem is Tom and Emma's attitude during those times. They are a well-matched couple, and they are fussy and shameless. First of all, they won't be satisfied unless they get the most luxurious room. Even with the recession, the best rooms tend to fill up with reservations mysteriously, and at our hotel, the top-tier rooms are always fully booked on weekdays. There's no way we can let Tom and Emma, who often come back suddenly without notice, stay in those rooms. Our parents suggest a different room, wondering if that would work. What do you think happens then? Incredibly, they throw a fit and go yelling at the guests staying in the nice rooms.
"It's your fault we can't stay here,"
they shouted, making a huge scene. The guests who had made reservations and come to stay were furious. Of course they were. My parents and all of our staff desperately apologized and somehow got them to forgive us. But far from apologizing, they had the nerve to say,
"It's their fault for getting in our way."
Even my father was enraged by this and declared that he would never let them stay at the hotel again. They got angry in return and said,
"We won't let you see your grandchildren even if we have any."
After that, we became completely estranged from Tom and Emma. Fortunately, aside from my parents, no one, including myself, was sad that Tom and Emma stopped coming. Everyone was fed up with how they would act like they were some kind of royalty and order us around every time they came. If anything, we were grateful they stopped coming. And so, peace came to me, the younger sister, and the hotel for over a decade. Just when we had completely forgotten about Tom and Emma's existence, the two of them caused trouble again. One day, Tom suddenly called me.
"I'm being sent overseas for work,"
he said.
"What?"
I thought, tilting my head in confusion.
"I don't know how many years it'll be until I come back, so take care of my car." "What? Why don't you just take your car with you on your assignment?" "The procedures are a hassle and it costs money." "I might consider it if you take care of everything for me, though." "Of course I don't want to do that. Why should I have to?" "Then take responsibility and look after my car."
I don't understand what he means. Take responsibility for what? Why do I have to look after his car when he's contacting me for the first time in over a decade? But before I could refuse, Tom said, "All right, I'll bring it to the hotel parking lot tomorrow. Thanks in advance."
"Hey, wait a minute! Don't do that! It's a nuisance!" "Shut up! It's because you said you won't do anything. It's your fault, so don't complain."
Why am I being made out to be the bad one? Before I could argue back, Tom said what he wanted to say and hung up. Even after more than 10 years, he is still the same, making me both angry and exasperated.
"That idiot!"
My father was also furious when he heard the story. By the way, Tom and Emma had said they wouldn't let us see our grandchildren, but we haven't heard anything about them having kids since then. And I married Mike, who works and lives at our place, and I'm now a mother of 2. In other words, My parents are happy living together with their grandchildren. Their scheme to make my parents sad easily fell apart. Not only that, but when Tom had the nerve to say such presumptuous things on the phone after so long, my parents were enraged.
If he comes tomorrow, I'm going to give him a piece of my mind,
my father said, seething with anger. But Tom must have anticipated that, because a few days later he sneakily called to say, "I left the car there. The key is hidden under the bumper, so find it.
At least come and greet us properly."
Why do I have to do such a troublesome thing? Listen, don't you dare drive the car. Make sure to wash it once a week. He made all sorts of selfish demands and then said, "I'm leaving tomorrow, so goodbye," and hung up. What is wrong with this brother of mine? And then the months and years flew by. It's been a year since he was sent overseas. Long after I had completely forgotten about him, my phone rang. It's from some guy named Tom, but who was that again?
It's your older brother, right?
Oh, that's right, that's right, Mike said with a wry smile. Let's ignore it. I put down my phone, thinking there was no need to answer, but Tom didn't give up either. He must have intended to keep calling until I picked up, because it kept ringing forever. So I switched it to voicemail and it stopped. I felt relieved, but then he called right back. If he kept doing that endlessly, of course I would get fed up and say,
"Ugh, enough already."
I steeled myself and answered the phone.
"You're late. Do you have any idea how many times I called? When your own brother calls, you should pick up on the first ring."
I couldn't help but feel irritated. It seemed like he didn't hear that, and Tom started over, saying, "Whatever. Let me get to the point. About the car, I guess I should thank you for keeping it. I finished my overseas assignment and got back yesterday." "Is that so?" I replied half-heartedly. "So I'm coming to pick up the car."
"What?
You washed it once a week like I told you, right? The battery is probably dead, so have a jump starter ready. You should at least have that much. I mean, I do, but..." Tom, what are you talking about?
Huh? I'm telling you, I'm coming to get the car.
Where did you leave the car?
What? Where else but the hotel parking lot?
Tom insists he parked it there, but Tom's car is nowhere to be found in either our hotel's guest parking or staff parking. When Tom contacted me a year ago saying he left the car, I checked the parking lot but couldn't find it anywhere. My parents and I ended up figuring he must have changed his mind about leaving it after all. No one wanted to contact Tom, so we never followed up with a confirmation call. But now, a year later, Tom is saying he's coming to pick up the car. What in the world is he talking about?
What are you saying? It's my car, my car. The bright red one.
Guests sometimes drive bright red cars, but there aren't any cars that have been left abandoned for a whole year.
Don't lie to me.
Even if you yell at me, I don't know what I don't know. If you come here and check, you'll see for yourself.
Fine. I'll be there tomorrow, so wait for me. If you sold it without permission, I won't forgive you.
Why would I ever do that? Before I could say, "I'm not like you, Tom," he had already hung up. What the heck is going on? I honestly have no idea what he is talking about. More than that, the thought of Tom coming tomorrow made me feel gloomy and heavy-hearted. But then the next day came. Evening arrived and Tom still hadn't shown up. It was a weekday and there was still time, but it's not like we had zero guests. We weren't swamped, but there was still a lot to do. I had finally settled down to take a break when my phone rang. It was that devil Tom. I didn't want him interfering with work, so I picked up and was immediately met with yelling.
Hey! What the hell is going on here?
What's with you all of a sudden?
I came to the hotel parking lot, but something seems off.
Huh? Tom, you're here? I glanced out the window. The parking lot was right past it, but there was no sign of Tom. If he was shouting this loudly, you'd think I could hear him even without the phone. He should have just come directly to the hotel in the first place. Wait, what is this? The hotel is gone.
What?
Emma? It seemed like she had taken over the phone. Apparently, Tom had come with his wife to pick up the car, and they were both shocked. I was wondering what in the world was going on, but Emma's words made it click.
What do you mean, the hotel is gone?
There's no sign, and the exterior has been remodeled. It looks similar, but it's something else. And there are a bunch of black cars here. What are those? Don't tell me, that place is. I tried to explain, but it seemed like he had handed the phone back to Tom, who yelled again.
Explain it to me. I'm trying to explain, so stop interrupting me.
My car is there, but what the heck is that? What do you mean?
There's a fence around the car, so I can't move it. It's surrounded, so it can't be removed.
Well, if you abandon it for a year, and you were overseas, so they probably couldn't contact the owner.
Don't mess with me, Maria. You took down the hotel sign without permission, remodeled it, and trapped my car. Just wait, I'm going to go yell at the hotel staff right now. Tom, wait a minute. Shut up.
Ignoring my attempt to stop him, it seemed like Tom had opened the hotel door. The phone was still connected. He must have opened it roughly with a lot of force. I could hear the sound of him running in a panic. Oh no. Tom.
Get out here now. Looks like all the staff are completely unfamiliar faces.
That's not a hotel anymore. We got rid of that place ages ago.
I see, you got rid of it. No wonder I don't know them, huh?
I've never heard such a dumb-sounding huh before. Tom must have had the most ridiculously stupid look on his face. I wish I could have seen it. Huh? Got rid of it? What do you mean? I heard Emma's voice too. You see, we relocated about 10 years ago.
What? I never heard about that.
I thought Mom and Dad had told you.
I don't answer when they call because it's annoying.
Then it's your fault, Tom.
No, it's your fault.
I don't care. He still tries to make me the bad guy, as always.
So what is this hotel then?
We sold it to some rich person. They said they were going to make it a summer retreat. But apparently that person was elderly and let it go. I heard it's been resold since then, but I don't know much about it now.
You don't know? How irresponsible.
Don't say that to me. But I did hear a rumor recently.
Who the heck owns it now?
I don't know the details, but apparently it fell into the hands of some dangerous people.
Huh? Then, that parking lot is...
It must belong to the mafia.
You're joking, right?
It's true.
Screw that.
That's when it happened. The voice of someone who seemed to be the current owner, who had been listening to our conversation, or rather Tom's story, spoke up. Hey, you. Are you by any chance the owner of that red car? Tom seemed flustered and thoughtlessly answered honestly.
Huh? Oh, yes, I am.
Now he's in trouble.
Don't screw with me. Whose land do you think this is? Pay the parking fees.
I heard a furious voice shouting. Even if it wasn't the mafia, anyone would be angry if a stranger's car was left there without permission for a whole year. Isn't it hard to just move those kinds of things without permission? Because if you damage the car in the process, you become the bad guy. So they must have put up a fence to make sure no one could just drive off with it. I could hear someone who sounded like mafia yelling on the other end of the phone. Tom seemed to be completely cornered. Tom sounded scared as he shouted into the phone.
I'm in big trouble because of you. Get over here and explain. Maria, do something about this.
He was pleading for help. I immediately said,
Oh, I have another call waiting.
I'm going to hang up now. And hung up on him. I could hear him yelling.
Hey, hey!
But I ignored it.
That was a waste of time.
I looked at the clock and saw that my break was over. I sighed and went back to work. Apparently, Tom contacted our parents after that. He was panicking and flustered. He must have been cornered by some really scary people. But even the mafia can't do anything too crazy these days. Apparently, they offered to let him off if he settled with them or met their conditions. So that's why Tom came crying to our parents. Tom called my dad while I was with my parents. But my parents have decided not to coddle him anymore. They pushed him away, saying,
You're an adult now. Take responsibility for your own actions.
I could hear Tom's wailing voice over the phone on speaker mode. No way. I'm unemployed now. I don't have any money.
Unemployed?
My parents and I were surprised.
Tom, weren't you on an overseas assignment?
I got fired.
What?
Apparently, Tom had volunteered for the overseas assignment, but he turned out to be completely useless. Tom has no foreign language skills whatsoever. He didn't even have the minimum skills required for an overseas assignment. I wonder why they sent someone like that overseas, but it's not my place to point that out. Tom probably told the company something like,
French? No problem for a talented guy like me.
As a result, he couldn't communicate with clients, and in the end, he snapped at them and yelled, infuriating them. A big contract that was about to be finalized fell through, and he was fired for causing damage to the company. The overseas assignment was supposed to last several years, but there was a reason he came back after just 1 year. In other words, there was a possibility of unauthorized parking for a few more years. It's a terribly chilling story.
I thought I could get some money if I sold the car.
Tom sounded dejected over the phone. None of us listening had any reaction.
In any case, it's your responsibility. Figure it out yourself,
my father said and hung up the phone. I guess this is where we have to harden our hearts. But to think he didn't know we had sold the hotel. I wonder why he didn't notice when he came to leave his car, but Tom, who probably came sneakily thinking Dad might get mad at him, must not have paid any attention to the state of the hotel at all. We sold the place when the economy was bad and guests were dwindling. We decided to make a fresh start and built a new hotel in a new location. At that point, my parents retired. Mike and I took over and started running the hotel. My parents help us out by looking after the kids and stuff. Thanks to that, it's been 10 years since we relocated and the hotel business is going well. I thought maybe Tom would learn his lesson and settle down a bit, and it felt like a weight off my shoulders. But it didn't end there. After a while, Tom and his wife showed up. Apparently, they found our new location right away.
Hey, do something about this.
He barged in and started yelling immediately. It seems the mafia is really putting the pressure on him. However, the one being blamed is Tom for unauthorized parking. If he gets sued, he definitely won't be able to run away. As I was thinking about this, I saw a dark shadow move behind Tom and his wife.
What? What is it?
A chill ran down my spine. There were scary-looking people in black suits and sunglasses, probably mafia, squirming around.
Because of you, I lost my job. I'm being threatened by these people, and I'm even being sued. Take responsibility. Our lives are a mess because of you and your family.
This couple just wants to blame others for everything.
Everything is Tom's fault, isn't it?
But this is troubling. If they make a scene at the hotel entrance, it'll interfere with business. What a nuisance. But calling the police is also a headache because it's a family matter and it could affect the hotel's image. As I was worrying, Tom and his wife closed in on me. Unfortunately, Mike was out, and my parents were in a house a short distance away. Tom and his wife kept repeating that it was my fault, not caring at all.
Unemployed because of you. Worse luck because of you. Can't get my car back because of you. Can't fix my slouching posture all because of you, Maria.
How does that even make sense? That last one about the slouching posture has nothing to do with me at all. Tom wants to blame me for everything bad.
This hotel is mine because it's your fault.
He finally went that far. The mafia guys are nodding. Tom, cornered by these people, must have told them about our hotel and ordered them to take it over.
Huh?
What are you saying?
Mike and I run this hotel. I'm the older brother, the firstborn son. It's only natural that I inherit this hotel. A good-for-nothing woman like you shouldn't butt in.
What?
Listen up. If you leave it to me, I'll quickly turn this hotel into a popular, high-class hotel in no time. Just let me handle it. I'll double the sales in a year.
Don't screw with me.
Don't say whatever you want when you know nothing about this hotel. Maria, are you defying me?
Tom threatened me in a low voice as I argued back. The mafia backed him up. My body tensed up. But I had become strong. I'm not the weak me who would do whatever he said anymore. But the ingrained memories are surprisingly deep-rooted, and my body reacts to Tom's terrifying voice. I'm frozen and can't move. Unpleasant sweat runs down my body.
Fine, go ahead and defy me. But you don't care what happens to the hotel, right?
The guys behind me won't stay quiet either. What are you?
I have nothing left to lose. In this day and age, if I flood the internet with bad reviews, a hotel like this will go under in no time.
What did you say? Even though we relocated, the hotel name is the same as before. We've tried to carry on the desire to let guests enjoy themselves since the hotel's founding. Is Tom saying he'll ruin this hotel, the one that's been in our family since our grandmother's generation? He is grinning nastily. Those eyes are serious. It's the same old Tom who used to harass me. The Tom who stole and took my things. Are you trying to take something precious from me again? I can't hand over the hotel to a Tom like this. But if I oppose him and he throws a tantrum or spreads rumors, what will happen to us? Tears welled up in my eyes as no good ideas came to mind. That's when it happened.
Are you saying the management of this hotel is changing?
A woman's voice came from behind me. I turned around and saw a woman who had been working for us since before we relocated. She stood next to me and glared at Tom and the men in black.
Maria and her husband have been running this hotel with care. Even if you're the previous owner's son, I don't appreciate you meddling. What did you say?
Tom glared back at her with a look that said she was being cheeky, but this veteran who had known us since we were kids didn't back down. Then another figure joined on my other side.
That's right. Maria is doing an excellent job managing the hotel. Our hotel has a very good reputation. Even if you badmouth it, the people who have actually stayed here won't stay quiet.
It was the manager. He had been here even longer, an elderly man with a dignified presence. Many staff members had gathered. Nearly all of our staff. They must have heard the commotion and rushed over. "We won't hand over this hotel," said the veteran woman. "It's not your place to interfere," said the manager. "This hotel belongs to Maria and her husband." Everyone chimed in. Tears welled up in my eyes. There are people who acknowledge my hard work like this. What I've been doing all this time wasn't wrong. Come to think of it, my mother scolded me a lot. The longtime staff and manager scolded me a lot too. But I worked hard, determined not to lose. I desperately thought about how to make a hotel that guests would enjoy. I felt like all that hard work had paid off. Holding back the tears that threatened to spill over, I glared at Tom and his wife. I won't lose anymore. I won't look back at the past anymore. Please leave, I said firmly to Tom. Tom's eyes widened and he growled. I didn't flinch an inch. It was a tense situation, but immediately after, "Get out!" a loud voice came from behind me. "Get out! Get out! I don't know what you're scheming, but you're definitely trying to ruin this hotel. Get out!" It was a hotel guest shouting that. "That's right, that's right. I look forward to healing from work fatigue here more than anything. Like I'll let you interfere with that. Get out!" Another guest shouted. "I like writing my manuscripts leisurely here while gazing at nature in the quiet. If you become the owner, I'm sure it'll be too noisy to write. I get inspiration for my work here. Don't interfere. Even if you write bad reviews online, we'll overwrite them with good content." Guests shouted one after another and confronted Tom. I watched in surprise. The staff next to me were in tears. That's right, it's wonderful. To think there are so many people who love this hotel. This moment is irresistible. Nothing makes me happier than being told we did a good job. It truly brings me joy when people say they'll come again. Glared at by the staff and guests, even Tom and Emma were overwhelmed. The mafia froze too. Then one of the guests stepped forward. "I'm a former detective. Those words just now, could they be a threat?" Tom panicked at the word detective. The mafia also braced themselves. "I didn't mean it like that." Another guest stepped forward. "I'm a lawyer. If it's a threat, I'll do everything in my power to protect this hotel." "So, what'll it be?" Tom and his wife visibly turned pale. They stumbled over each other's feet and ran outside. The mafia followed suit and fled. And he said, "Who would want a place like this? This kind of hotel will go under in no time anyway." "That's right, that's right. We have no business with a place like this," Emma shouted too. And with that, they ran away. The moment Tom, his wife, and the men in black disappeared from view, my strength left me and I sank to the floor. We did it. The guests returned to their rooms as if nothing had happened. I'll have to thank them properly later and make dinner extra luxurious tonight. When I looked at the staff, they were all smiling. I silently nodded and returned their smiles. Amidst the excitement, an out-of-place voice rang out. "Huh? What? What happened?" We laughed again at the stunned look on Mike's face as he finally returned. I don't know what happened to Tom and his wife after that. I'm not sure how the unauthorized parking issue was resolved, as I haven't heard from them since. Tom and his wife will probably never come to our hotel again. It's just a feeling, but I can somehow tell. Whatever happens to Tom, who can only look down on others with his inflated pride, is no longer any of my concern. My parents seem to be worried but don't intend to help. It was Tom and the others who abandoned our parents first. It's their own responsibility. As for me, I'm as busy as ever, running around. Running a hotel is truly challenging and extremely busy. Lately, the kids seem interested too, so they come with their grandparents when there aren't many guests. A brother and sister, 2 kids just like Tom and me. But unlike us, my children get along very well.
Hey, Mom. I love this hotel. I want to work here when I grow up.
My daughter says. Me too. I want to be the manager. My son says, his eyes shining. Mike and I looked at each other and laughed at our children. At that moment, we saw the guests with reservations for today arriving. I hurriedly put on a big smile and cheerfully greeted them.
Welcome. Thank you very much for coming.